Welcome everyone to First Wednesdays with Master Coach Gretchen Heido. Each first Wednesday is uploaded publicly to Gretchen's YouTube channel. So I'll put a little note in the comments if you want to keep your mic off or your camera off. But in today's call, we're going to talk about business building basics for coaches. And with that, I will hand it over to Gretchen.
Well, hi, everybody. It's so good to see you. Here we are, and it is already June. I cannot even believe it. Happy to be with everybody tonight. And you know, what we're going to do tonight is a couple of things. First of all, I just want to announce that this is going to be the last live First Wednesday until September. In July and August, we will send out recordings of some past First Wednesdays for you, but school's out for summer, so enjoy yourselves, and you can look at all of the resources and everything on YouTube as well. The other news is bittersweet for me. Christy, my longtime, I was going to say partner, but that sounds different, but you kind of are, you know, like my longtime friend and professional development person, far more than an assistant, has decided to make a change. And you can maybe give a few words about what that's going to be, but this is going to be her last First Wednesday as the moderator. She's going to probably come and be a participant in some of these lives, but I just want to thank her publicly for everything that she's done for the Coaching for Coaches community and for Gretchen Heido International. I really love you, and I mean that.
Oh, thank you. And yes, I actually do consider myself a partner. I'm doing more strategic partnerships, so it falls in line there. Perfect. And that's actually where I'm headed, more strategic partnerships and less in the day-to-day operations of a business. Yeah, but I'm excited for Gretchen because I know all of the amazing things she has coming this year and next year.
Yes. And just really thank you, Christy. And so for all of you coaches, you know, when you're thinking about your businesses and you're thinking about the best ways that you want to build, if you are going to do a partnership, it's really important to have someone who can support you in all kinds of different ways. You know, Christy has been my thinking partner. She's been an executor of different things that I've needed. She's strategic. And so it's really important that coaches have community as well, because you can go back and forth on your different thoughts, and two heads are always better than one. So there's that. So here's the deal. Since we're a small group tonight, we can talk about anything you want. What we're going to do is I'm going to call this coaches topics, meaning you're the coaches. You decide what you want to talk about. You can ask me anything. I know that there's a lot of questions about how to build your business. People want to know how to get in front of clients. Maybe you're wondering about a certain client situation that you have. And I see Marissa is here tonight too, and she will probably be happy to weigh in as well. So we can mastermind if you'd like to. Marissa and I worked together for quite some time. She was someone that was my mentee. And so she has gone out to build like a thriving business. So why don't we use the minds of the group and put those questions out there on the table? So anything you're thinking, anything you're wondering, who has a burning desire? Go for it, Diana.
I have been learning a lot. I am new, just starting out, feeling very daunted because I'm looking at you, Gretchen. I'm looking at folks here. I have a couple other people in my group that I've watched start, and now they're like, $1 million businesses, and they have people that work for them, and I'm feeling kind of daunted. I'm at a point now, and here's my question, that in order to get to where I want to go, I'm curious to know some nitty gritty, like how to organize my day or week and break up things like customer outreach and customer, client contact and things like that on the one hand. And of course, there's the actual coaching, and how to balance that, or how to also do the actual business, because I don't have anybody that works with me. So there are times that I'm going to have to be tracking my expenses, making sure that I am getting and using the right tools for scheduling. So there's the business and there's the practice. So that's my question. And Gretchen, you can also weigh in as someone who does both coaching and consulting, because I've been doing consulting and training for many years, and I don't want to let that go. Coaching is new to me. The building a business is new to me, but I've been training and facilitating for many years. How do I balance the time?
It's a great question, you know, and I will tell you, I might have someone helping me now, but it wasn't always that way. I think that as business owners, for most solopreneurs or people just starting out, we wear all of the hats in the beginning. It's not really economical before you start earning to have someone doing all of those other jobs. But as you start to grow, and if you do get to that $1 million mark or whatever it is that you were talking about, you will have many people helping to support you. So mainly I say that just be exactly where you are. And when you think about setting up your business, for me, and then we'll let the others weigh in as well, it was always really important that I had time that was dedicated to client outreach, time that was dedicated to business, like business support. So whether it was the tracking my finances or tracking my time or figuring out what I was going to do with my website, that I had that set in a different bucket than client outreach, because client outreach is your machine. If there's no client outreach, there's no clients. I spent most of my time there in the beginning, and then I made room to actually coach, although in the beginning of coaching, I wasn't coaching that much. And to your point, when I started, I actually had a PR business. So I had to make time to still do my PR company as well as start this new one. So you kind of just have to do the math of what it is for you and how much you want to work. For me, it's always been important to have at least one day off during the week to reboot, simply because it's a lot of thinking, it's a lot of doing, and it's a lot of output, especially if you're the one doing all of the jobs. How's that hitting you, Diana?
Very well. So when you say one day off, you mean one day that you're not doing any of your income-bearing work?
Yes. And you know, when I say one day off, I mean one extra day off during the week. I don't work on weekends. I meant like a Monday through Friday, that I would take a day there to just let my mind go wherever it was going to. I might decide to be creative. Maybe I would end up creating a program or something like that. But I really allowed it that if I wasn't going to do anything, that was okay.
Okay. And one of those days that you took off was one of the Monday through Friday days.
Oh,
so
yes.
Okay.
Yes. Yep.
Okay. Okay.
How about Marissa? Do you want to share about this?
Sure, happy to. Good to see you as always, Gretchen, and you too, Christy. I never spend time with Gretchen and don't learn something, so that's why I'm here. But I was her mentee for a year and coached for a year before that. So it's no surprise that my answer is very similar to hers, because I learned from the best. Client creation is the primary way in which I would suggest spending your time, especially at the beginning and even as you're building your business. Sometimes the thought of administrative stuff or other stuff feels like it could be a lot, and a lot of it you might not even need. For me personally, for example, I didn't invest in a CRM system until I was in business for more than a year. I didn't have a virtual assistant until more than 2 years. I don't do very much social media content at all, and I have a full roster of clients. So I think there's a lot of red herrings that you might feel like, oh, I've got to spend time making a beautiful one pager. Like, you don't. What you do need is clients. And so really honoring that as the highest priority, I think really served me well and still does. I take every Friday off too. I have almost since I started, and it actually was easier to set the boundary at the beginning before I was full. And now that I am full, I just have that as part of the schedule, and it's easy to work around. The work is emotionally, it requires so much of you that figuring out for you what works, maybe that's a certain amount of time in between clients on a particular day or time off in the week. I would just play around with what works for you. And then the last thing, it really did resonate what you said when you like see clients having these huge, or see other coaches having these huge businesses. I had the same thought at the beginning, and I just encourage you to like check your lens on what you're making that mean. You can look at other coaches and say like, oh my gosh, they have 6 figures, they have 500,000, they have 1 million, like that's so overwhelming. Or you can look at those same people and say like, oh my gosh, like it's totally possible. Like we can have that income level and do this work that's so fulfilling and awesome. Like, wow. So just check your filter, and maybe it can turn something that's daunting into something that's inspiring.
I love
Thank
that.
you both. Thank you. That
Yeah.
is squarely.
Scratch that, Diana. You're not behind. I'm brand new, so you're doing just fine.
Yeah. And that's the other piece too, is you're right on the path where you're supposed to be when it comes to all of this. So yeah, just keep doing, and then you'll do more, and then you'll have an intuitive thought about what else to do. But the best thing that I can say around this too is if you're treating it like it's a profession rather than a hobby, that's also going to help you to have a better business frame. When we treat things more like, well, I hope it works, or it's a hobby, or maybe I'll get to it, we don't tend to take it as seriously. Yeah. Who else? What else are we wondering about tonight?
So I've got a question. As I said, just beginning. So I'm trying to figure out, okay, how can I get my hours just so I can get my first ICF level certification? I have done a training program, but there's a lot more to learn, a lot more hours to get in, and a lot of the online services, as I poke around, understandably want some sort of credential, especially now that there are so many coaches out there. So I'm looking to getting reciprocal hours from other coaches, but wondering if you, Gretchen, or any of you have any other ideas about how to get past that first hump.
Yeah. And is it still 100 hours to become ACC, 75 of them paid and 25 can be unpaid?
Yes.
Okay. So you probably are very close to your 25 would be my guess, correct? From your coaching program?
A little over, actually. Yeah.
Little over. Okay. So you've got that done. So when you think about these other 75 hours, remember, paid can be at any amount. And a lot of times coaches get very nervous about what paid means, and they make it something bigger than it has to be, or it can be whatever you would like it to be. But when you're thinking of paid and you're thinking of the people in your sphere, what is the price point or package that you're thinking would serve them the best?
I haven't answered that yet. I still don't know how to answer that.
Okay. So when you worked with your practice clients, how long of a frame did you have with them?
A lot of them were different, but it would be so engagement of 8 sessions, either every 2 weeks or every 4 weeks or so.
How did that go?
It went well. I think generally it was more preferred to have the every 2 week sessions.
Okay, so
1 hour.
You're the coach, you decide. So I'm hearing that you would like to offer your services of probably 8 sessions is what it sounds like, over 4 months, meeting every other week. That's your coaching program.
Right.
Okay. And then think about, for you, at the level that you're at with the confidence that you have today, when you think about just that first client, not all of the clients that you're going to need to hit the 100, just the first one, what would you like to earn that would engage you as a coach and also cause the client to commit and to fully show up?
Okay. So that makes sense. Just, do the math and work backwards.
Yeah.
Okay.
Do you have a number though that you're thinking?
I do not.
You have to have something. So what if you got bold and you just decided, and we're playing with it, you can take it back. What would excite you and make you feel like, yeah, I would love to coach someone for this as I'm just starting out?
So you're talking about like how much I would like to earn as my income over, the first 6 months.
I'm talking about just that 8 sessions,
okay.
4-month package.
If I earned $1,000, I'd be thrilled.
I think that's what you should go with. There you go. So now you have your package, you have your program. So when you talk to someone, tuition for this program is $1,000. Here's what it includes. We meet this many times, and you can really lay that out for a person, but you have it now. And so the next thing to do would be to think of who is likely in your sphere to say yes to someone like that. This is going to be someone with a problem, a dream, a transition that they're going through, that a little something about them, and that you can say, would a conversation help?
Okay. And you aren't necessarily talking about, when you say in your sphere, not necessarily like a friend or a family member, but like a secondary or tertiary contact.
So when I'm thinking of my first 100 hours, I'm thinking of anybody, but as coaching, just because you want to just start coaching. But in general, I'm thinking of that second sphere, that They might tell you that they hope that you feel better, but they're not going to bring you a casserole type of thing. You know what I mean? Or they might wish you happy birthday on Facebook, but like they're not coming to your birthday party.
Got it. Thank you.
Yeah, you got it. Janine, welcome. We are just doing open questions tonight. Anything that you want to know about coaching, anything that you want to know about creating a business. So you can feel free to ask your questions.
Thank you.
You're welcome. You're welcome. Where are you from? I haven't ever met you before, so I'm glad to see you.
Yeah, no, thank you. I'm actually in Phoenix, Arizona. It's connected through Lily.
Oh, great.
Yeah. Yes, she and I were in our coaching program together. We both just graduated. So
congratulations on that.
Thank you. She spoke very highly of you, so I wanted to jump on tonight.
Well, I'm so glad that you're here. And really, we're just doing any question that you have, client creation, building businesses, anything that you're really wondering about. If you have a scenario right now that's happening with a potential client or a client that you want to run through, we can play some game film on it as well.
Okay, I actually do have a question then.
Yeah, please ask.
And it's actually for business development. I've had a holistic practice for the last 15 years, focusing on energetic practice. And I wanted to move into coaching, life transitions, specifically a very specific niche, working with women who have left a marriage or a long-term relationship and helping them really find their voice again, trust themselves again. And so I'm combining all of the work that I've done over the last 15 years, including a book that I wrote around it, into this next phase where I can help people not just on the sort of metaphysical level, but in a very practical way. So that's my background here. It's a very different clientele, though, that I'm working with now. I was much more general, and now it's a very targeted niche, which feels really great. But I do feel like I'm starting my business again. So I have a signature program. I have workshops, but I feel like I'm missing that gap between, hi, it's me, I'm new here. You don't know me. I detest social media, and, jump into my programs. So do you have a simple answer to it? My thought is like, show up and do some free coaching with groups and develop sort of a, trust that way. Any thoughts? Like, that's a big loaded question for me to throw at you 3 minutes in.
I'm so glad that you asked. So I'm hearing a lot of things. I'm hearing that you have an established business. Did I get that right? That your holistic business is established. The thing that first comes to mind for me is, what if you reach out to the people that you've already worked with and invite them to have a coaching experience with you? You can do that in a group, like you're saying, a workshop, something like this type of a group, whatever you like, or you can offer them individual experiences. And the way that I would do that if I did individual is I would offer it to a few people and tell them why you're offering it to them, that you thought of them because, and get really detailed in how thoughtful you can be in your invitation to them. And then from there, I do it in two parts. I would have some preliminary questions for them, meet with them for about 30 minutes just to get some background info, and then schedule to actually coach them. Coaching's a slow burn. When it comes to client enrollment, you want a few touch points before you're going to make any kind of an offer or invitation to work with somebody. So whatever you feel is the best use of your time and resources, and what's going to resonate the most with each individual that you're thinking of, is what you might do. Maybe you bring them all into a group first for some kind of free, whatever you want to do, and then offer that group participants a complimentary session with you to go deeper. So there's a lot of ways to do it, but it really is that one-on-one approach and them having an experience with you that's going to help them get over the line.
Okay, great. That's great information. And I love that you mentioned a few touch points, because I like to get to the end faster than reasonable and want it to be one touch point. I
don't even want a touch point. I just want them to be my client, right? So I really get this with just wanting it to be fast. So for the personality in the room who is fast, here's what I will tell you. When I first started coaching, I wanted to connect with a client, coach a client, and close a client in 30 minutes. I did not want to give it any more time. I really didn't like to do things for free. And I was like, you either need to know I'm great. You either should realize it or not. It's so ridiculous when I look back on it, but that really was my frame all of those years ago. What I have learned is for the clients that are going to have some longevity with you, that are going to show up to their appointments, that are highly motivated, and that are going to be your bigger contracts, more touch points are needed. People have to relax into the coaching container with you, and they have to have a number of experiences before they're willing to make a larger investment.
Very good. Thank you.
You're welcome. So for this one, I'd say slow down to speed up. Yeah. Marissa, do you want to share anything about that since you relate?
Well, I had to hear the same advice from Gretchen a few months ago on slowing down the process. So I very much relate to that. Slowing down absolutely works in my experience. And also, Jean, when you were talking, you slow it down and you give and serve in the enrollment process. Once you're ready to do a group, from my vantage point, I don't know that it has to be free necessarily. You can if you want to, and energetically you'll feel good about that. But if the thought that's driving it to be free is like, you don't know that you're ready or you're starting the business over, like that's just a story that you're making up. Like you have a track record of successfully running a business, you have the insights, you have tools to serve and add value. So you can do it for free, but also don't necessarily assume that's how it has to be because you haven't done this before. Like plenty of us charge for clients before we've done it before, whatever it might be. So that just might be something to unravel in your mind if there's some thoughts going on that aren't serving you necessarily.
That's great. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Yeah. Who else? Questions, burning desires that you have, something you're wondering about?
I do have something, but I've already spoken. So if anyone else wants to bring it up, please. We're a small group,
so just go for it. Yes. Thank you
right.
for being time sensitive like that, though. I appreciate it.
And I think some of your other videos are chatting with you, Gretchen. I have an idea, I think, of how you feel about niches. And that's another thing as I'm thinking about like how I get started. I don't necessarily need a niche, but what's my elevator pitch? When someone asks, oh, you're a coach, or I say I'm a coach, and they're like, great, like, what do you coach? And I'm like, well, at this point, everything. But that's not a very good answer. It's not a very professional answer, and it may not even necessarily be true. So I'm just trying to think like how to think about this. Should I approach it? And yeah, I'll leave it there.
Such a good question. So it's not that I don't like niches, but what I feel like they do is they can pigeonhole your income. And so instead of a niche, what I like to think about is what are the personality traits of the kind of person that I like to serve? So I like to work with ambitious people who have a bias towards action. That's really who I like to work with. It doesn't matter what career they have or if they have no career. If you're ambitious with a bias towards action, I might be the right coach for you, but we're going to have great synergy regardless because of those elements. So you can, for everyone, really think about what are the personality attributes that the kind of person that you enjoy has. Also think about what are the personality attributes that the person you don't enjoy has. So for me, I learned this pretty early on because I used to just say yes to anyone who would say yes to me. Like I'd coach you if you pay me. Like that's all that it really amounted to. Not a great strategy. What I learned through that is I do not enjoy working with people who say, I don't know for every answer. I don't know sometimes is completely acceptable, but if everything is, I don't know, I end up getting frustrated and I want to say things like, well, who does know? And that's not very nice coaching. So that's not a great question. So learn what you like and what you don't like. Then you want to think about industries. Are there certain industries, like maybe you happen to know a lot about whatever. What do you happen to know a lot about? Tech. Oh, that's right. Maybe you happen to know a lot about tech. So you could pull personality pieces from people in tech that you enjoy. And you could say something like, I'll just use the ones that I was saying. You know how a lot of ambitious people with a bias towards action tend to burn out? They hit all of their gold rings, but they're always striving for more and they can never actually feel what they've achieved. That might be what I say, because that's something that the people that I work with are all like, yeah, that's me. So you would think about what are those personality traits for the people in tech that you could say where you pose a problem and then you can give the solution. And when you're giving the elevator pitch, here's the deal. Please never lead with I'm a anything, the brain turns off. When I was a publicist and pitching all of the time, what I learned is that the mind goes into a filing cabinet, it pulls out it gets it, and then it throws it away because it already knows. And it's not listening, they're texting them, they have to go to the bathroom, and they already have figured you out. But if you drop something like, when someone says, so what do you do? If you say, how a lot of people, and this is where you could describe the people, struggle with whatever these people in tech struggle with, and really get a pain point. We're not looking for overly generic. You want to make it something that people in tech will feel. They're going to feel it. They're like, oh yeah, that's me. And then you wait because you want a conversation starter. It never matters if you get to the next part. The more that they talk to you, the more in you have. But let's say that they're nodding their head and they don't say anything else. Then you give your solution. I help people in tech, or I help people who struggle with whatever the thing is, and then solve their problem. So for me, let's say it's coaches. You know how a lot of coaches struggle with where to find clients. They did great in coaching school. They know how to do sacred space and reflective listening, but they have no idea how to build a business. If I'm in a room with coaches, most of them are like, yeah, that's me. And I wait and I let them tell me what it is that they're experiencing. Then I might say, I help coaches create a simple plan for client creation, one that can or doesn't have to include social media, and one that really is based on service. They're probably interested. So you want the beginning and the end to match. And notice I never said I'm a coach.
It's much like, I think in one of the videos I watched with you about narratives, or I don't think you use that word narratives, but stories.
Yes.
Trying to make a story out of it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So let's go to that for a minute because you bring up a good point. So let's say that someone says, so what do you do? For everyone, you can either do the pain points type of person solution model, or you can say, I was just working with a client who. And what this does is you give some kind of a success story. I was just working with a coach who wasn't really sure how to pitch. She was scared. She had never pitched anything over $3,000 before. After we kind of created a new program and I helped her with her frame and her confidence, she was able to pitch a $15,000 program and the client said yes. So there's two ways to do it. You can do success story or you can do the other approach, but both things open doors and become conversation starters.
Thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome. You're welcome. Anyone have anything they want to add to that?
Yes. I think that all of those things, that was really valuable, and I agree, Gretchen. I also think that it helps to think about what I think about is what made me want to be a coach and what made me think I would be good at coaching. And I'd start there, but with either a story. I was just working with somebody, or I was just telling somebody, or with how people can sometimes, and I usually say, how many of us, because I try to connect myself to the person. So yeah, so I usually start with, how many of us, especially in this social climate, stumble and get stuck when we're trying to have conversations around difference and when we are trying to navigate through conflict. I was just working with someone who had a difficult time with an employee that shares a different social identity and didn't know what they did. And I really, as I like to watch flowers grow, it was amazing the way that this person was able to come up with and navigate through their stuckness. And so I love to help people navigate through and find within themselves what it is that they need to navigate through difficult conversations.
Yeah.
That was long. I usually shorten it, but I usually connect it because that's what I'm interested in, and that's what I'm good at.
And that's what I heard was the connection part there too. It's like, so you know how a lot of people, you know how many of us, and then you go into the story. So it's really taking both of the elements and combining them.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, good. And the key here is to be prepared, you know, so the way that you prepare is to write down the types of people that you like to work with, the types of problems that you know they have, and the types of solutions that you know can happen from coaching or that you've seen in your coaching clients. And then what happens is no matter what room you're in, you can pull based on who you're in front of, this type of person, this type of problem, probably this type of solution or this type of story. So it's just practicing. And the more you practice it, the better you get at this skill. When I first started coaching, I joined a networking group. I never do networking groups, but I joined because you're forced to say who you are and what you do. And I thought, all right, I really need to get this down with coaching. I knew how to talk about PR in my sleep, but coaching was something different that I just hadn't mastered yet. So each week in that group, I would go last on purpose and I would listen to what each person was saying they were struggling with, because that was one of the things we had to do in the networking group. And I would force myself to come up with a new pitch each time of how I said it. So I'd like scale the room. There were usually 10 people there. Depending on what they said, I would do you know how a lot of business owners, because that's who was in the room, struggle with whatever they were struggling with. Then I'd say some things about that and end it with I'm a coach, because that was part of the requirement for how they wanted us to end it. So you get really good by the listening and by the practicing of just saying it over and over and over until it doesn't hold any of that nervousness.
So, Gretchen, can you repeat again? And you said I've heard you say this a couple times and I have it written down somewhere, but you said that you want to start with thinking about the kind of people that you want to work with. And there were two other elements, two other characteristics.
So it's typically the kind of person you want to work with and what are the attributes to their personality. You can think of the industry that they might be in. Then you want to think of their pain points, problems. What is it that in general, these types of people struggle with? If you were to poll them all, that probably 80% of them have this common problem. And then you think of the solutions that either you know coaching can help with because of your style of coaching or what has happened with a past client.
Thank you.
Yeah. All right. What else are we wondering?
I actually have another question connected to my earlier question, I think. And when you're in the customer and client outreach bucket, what's a good time span from initial contact to the introductory meeting? Like at the point from the time that you put somebody on your calendar for that getting to know you meeting, a week? I mean, do you feel like you need to schedule somebody within 2 days so that you don't lose them? I like the slow down thing. What's a good time?
So I like to do, if I've done that 30-minute getting to know you, and then I've offered you a coaching session, I'd really like to do it in the next 48 hours. If I can't within the next week, because there's a half-life of enthusiasm. Mm-hmm. And people often get afraid or get in their head then and know that we're going to talk about money and this and that. And they're like, forget it. I don't want to. So I like to do it quicker rather than later when it comes to that part.
Mm-hmm. I'm referring to the part before that, the point at which you meet a client, however you meet them and have a conversation, and you get them scheduled for that get to know you meeting, for that 30-minute get to know you meeting.
Okay, well, for that one, same thing. You know, I like to do those sorts of things with a little bit more urgency. Now, it always ends up on the calendar in exactly the way that it's supposed to. Sometimes people are traveling or whatever it is, and it might not happen for a month. It might be 3 weeks. You might have some time on your calendar tomorrow, but quicker is always better when you've made an initial connection, because it gives the mind a breadcrumb trail to follow.
Great, thank you.
Yeah. What other questions do we have, coaches?
I'd be curious to hear what the group has to say regarding different types of engagement structures. So for example, earlier I said, every 2 weeks for 8 sessions, but I know there's a million different ways to configure this. And I'm curious to hear what others think.
Oh, that's good. So what do other people do? What do your coaching engagements look like with your clients? How do you set them up?
I can share.
Sure.
My most common offering is 6 months, 12 sessions. The first session is a little bit longer. I do 75 minutes, and then the remaining sessions are 50 minutes, 50. And I offer what I call laser coaching, which is 15 minutes on an as-needed basis. Most clients don't use it, but it is sort of a perceived value add. And if there is a moment kind of in between the 2 sessions per month that they want to get a hold of me, they feel like they have access, and they do have access. That's my most common. When I first started, which was about 2.5 years ago, I did 3-month packages. The price was less nauseating for me to say, frankly. It was a little easier and safer, but as I've been working more, I realize it's not only a business stabilizer for me to have longer packages, but it also serves the client because, as we know, getting coached, the results tend to be more exponential. So you really see a lot more movement in the second half of that longer engagement. I've had clients sign for a year. Occasionally, people in career transition who have a little more urgency around their goals, I would entertain a 3 or 4 month contract with 2 or 3 sessions a month because they have a little bit of a short-term goal that they're trying to get themselves into a different line of work. But typically 6 months is the minimum. I've played around with less frequently than 2 times a month recently with some re-enrollments of meeting once a month. For me, the pace is way too slow. I think for some people, it could work great. For me, I don't like it as much. So 2 times a month is my minimum from a cadence standpoint. And I share that I tested it because cadence and packages is a good thing to play around with. Try a bunch of different things and see what you like and see what resonates with your people. And that can help you hone it in versus feeling like this is the offering and this is what it has to be. And then the last thing I'll share on this topic is when I re-enroll a client, if there's somebody who I've gotten to know over 6 months and I think they could benefit from continued coaching and they're into it, I like getting really creative and pitching something that's just custom for them that includes coaching, but maybe it includes for one client, her and her husband are launching a hot chocolate business. I had them come to New York and do a chocolate tasting and a business building planning session, a very unusual thing that was just for them. I find it's a good way to be creative, and it's a fun way to get a yes, usually to a higher price point. So I get creative on the re-enrollments. They don't typically look like the basic first packages that I offer. I hope that's helpful.
That was very helpful. Thank you, Marissa.
Mm-hmm. Marissa, when you used to do the 3 months, or when you do the 3 months, is that still 2 sessions per month, more or less?
If it's 3 months, I'll only do it 3 sessions a month. I just find 6 sessions is we're just getting going. But when I did first start, I was doing 2 sessions a month for 3 months. So I don't want to pretend out of the gate I was ready for that. I wasn't. Now it's extremely unusual for me to do 3 months. I don't like it. And it's only if I really want to work with someone and I really feel like that's the way that would serve them best. And that's how to get to a yes.
Okay. But so when you do what is your standard, which is 6 months for a first engagement, do you usually do 2 times per month, 3 times per month, 2 times?
2 times per month. Yeah. My most often first package for a new client is 6 months, 12 sessions, plus optional laser coaching.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's what I was thinking of. I haven't offered I've only offered 1 package. And it was, the first session was speed dating, and it didn't work. But Gretchen articulated that in 30 minutes, get to know, open it, coach, and then close. And also my price point was way too low.
Yeah, my price point when I first started was $50 a session. So, and now I'm, I don't know, more than 10x that. So don't be hard on yourself. Whatever it takes to get the machine going. go for it.
And that's the part about playing with it too. When I started, I only sold 3-month, 90-day packages, 9 sessions. And they were anything from $900 all the way up to $3,000, depending on how I felt about myself that day, what I thought the client was going to pay. So not based on anything that made any sense, just I didn't know how to do it differently than that. And then what I found too was that 6 months is really a good spot for clients because they get so much more as far as the results and the integration. Who else? What kind of packages do you offer?
I'm so sorry I haven't not shared anything yet. This has been a really great discussion. And Gretchen, I've learned so much from our program that I'm sitting here rethinking everything that I have done, but I've done almost everything. Interestingly enough, I've been working with a client for over a year, and it was very intense in the beginning because she wanted to make some rapid changes. But then after about a year of that, we'd really done all the work that we could do, and she really saw that she needed a time to kind of put into play so much of what we had been working on. So we very comfortably went into once a month, and that's working really well for us. So I think it really, the whole thing I'm thinking about through this discussion is for me being, it's interesting. I'm certified in Clifton strengths. So I think very much in terms of my strengths, and I've really individualized everything. What I'm learning for Gretchen is to have a program and a practice and a consistent. So I'm looking to get started and do that. You know, I shared last week in class, I am probably going to go back to doing 3-month packages, then move it up to 6 months, and probably when you look at some of the issues that folks are dealing with, it can take as much as a year to have any real progress, but it can really differ. So that's what I'm struggling with. I think along with that story I just gave you, the other big issue I have right now is about social media and what to really post. I don't do any of that. I don't do LinkedIn. I'm on there. I had a profile done, but it's all outdated. So now I'm looking at, oh my gosh, everybody seems to look at social media now too. So I guess if I had a question for you, Gretchen, it would be, what is your recommendation or suggestion? I really wish I just had the money to pay somebody to do it for me, because I really don't even want to mess with it. But I know it's important. People look at that. So I don't know. What do you think?
You know, I don't love social media. I don't think I'm very good at social media. My team has had to like arm wrestle me to do it. I'm always rolling my eyes when I have to do it. Like, that's just really the truth. When I was trying to do it by myself, it was so bad that it was better for me to just not do it. I built an entire business without any social media.
Wow. I love it.
Like no social media, and was getting these year-long contracts without social media. It's recently more because of my book that I've been doing social media, some for, you know, clients and exposure, but even that, it's like the lowest thing on my personal priority list. Now my team feels differently. It's higher on their priority list. And so I trust them and whatever else. But for me, I don't make really buying choices based on social media, or like, I don't care about that. That's not how I'm going to make my buying choices. So do it if you want to. And if you don't want to, you can still build a successful business.
But you know, if somebody just did a search of your name, they would easily find you because of these sessions and everything that's on YouTube with you. So you almost really wouldn't need it, because people can learn everything about your work and working with you through just seeing you on YouTube.
And this was easier for me. Like, this is my element. I love to talk. I love to ask questions and facilitate. You get a real sense of who I am. Social media, like pictures.
I know.
Me and my cat. Like, what?
That's how I feel about it. I don't know.
Christy, what do you think about it? Yeah. Oh, how interesting. You were saying, can I chime right when I asked you? There we go.
So here's my thing that I give a little advice for any coach when, and I'm trying to be nice here, comparing yourself to Gretchen. Gretchen's moving into thought leader space. So her strategy is a lot different than if you're only going to be doing coaching. And I'm not trying to talk that down at all. It's literally apples and oranges at that point. So what I would say is social media can be there to support you. Do you need it if your goals don't completely line up to Gretchen goals? Maybe not. Gretchen's trying to be thought leader speaker, so she needs to be fully visible, and that's why her social media there is to support that. Also, she has a book and whatnot. If that's your goal eventually, then slowly build to that, but I wouldn't burn yourself out on things that may not be as fruitful than having those conversations to create the clients. Right. That was my
Well said. Well said. Thank you.
I thought that was well said too. I'm like, oh yeah, it's because I'm trying to be, see, I don't even know why. I'm like, whatever, why am I doing it? Every time they tell me I have to do it, I'm like, why do I have to do this again? Why? So thank you, Christy. Yeah. Yeah. What other
just double down that you don't need it.
Yeah.
Especially if it's something that you dread. Like so much of being able to be great at what we do is having a really good energy. And if you have something in your schedule that's like you dread it and it's a drain, that's not good for your business. And so you don't need it. I'm one of many examples of people who've built multiple six-figure businesses without doing social media. I would say like you want your pages to be accurate. You know, somebody sees you on LinkedIn, it shouldn't say an old job that you had 5 years ago. It should say what you're up to. But the idea that you need to be creating content to get clients, like a conversation is what's going to create a client, probably a few conversations. So social media can support that if you think it's fun, but it's not going to close the deal anyway of 6 months of coaching for multiple $1,000s. You're going to have to talk to them. So if you have a belief or this idea that you have to do it, you can dismiss that because there's plenty of evidence to suggest that it's not necessary. I'm one of them.
So, you know, one of the biggest challenges I'm having is I've been very disconnected. So I don't feel like I know people, and I don't have groups that I'm a part of to even get to talk to people. So I feel really disconnected. And probably what drove me to think I needed to go in and redo my LinkedIn, because I'm so isolated. So I don't know, any suggestions on how to bypass that? That was really a mouthful too, because it doesn't, I don't know. How did you guys get to know people to talk to? Where do you find people to talk to?
People to talk to become your potential client?
Yes.
Okay, because you're saying I was trying to figure this out when you said you become isolated with this. I was seeing if it was social media, like what are we actually talking about?
Okay, no, I'm talking about potential prospects for clients. So I think I have an idea who I want to work with. I have no idea where to find them.
Mm-hmm. So this is going to be through conversations. And sometimes the people that we're having conversations with are not our clients. So you're connected at ICFLA. I would have conversations with every single person from ICFLA, not because you're necessarily going to end up working with them, but who knows who they know. And it's going to get you more comfortable talking. Maybe you're a part of some other group. Maybe you're not, because you said that you're isolated, but any group that you're in, any alumni organization that you've been a part of.
Yeah, I used to be in all of those. Yeah.
Okay. Those are the people. That's who it's like, Betty, we haven't talked in 10 years. How are you?
Okay. That is what I felt I needed to do. I have like everybody I used to work with at Vanguard, you know, and I see them on social media all the time, and I'll respond sometimes, but I'm thinking I need to actually call them and connect with them again. Okay.
That's the best way to do it. All right. I found a quicker way. And here's something else I'll say about the social media. When we're and funnels and all of this, when you're trying to enroll people in programs over $1,000, you have to talk to them. You're just going to have to talk to them. So we try to avoid talking to people in this business, which is so hilarious. We don't want to talk to humans, but then we want to talk to the humans, but not when we're trying to connect with them only after they've paid. We don't even know if we like that particular human or if we're a good fit, but we're like, okay, human, just pay the money and then I'll do it. It's never going to work that way. So it's really shifting the mindset about, in order to earn a livable living, you want to be charging 1,000 or more, and you want it to be that you're talking to the humans, because you will get better and better at it and you can raise your price points.
Perfect.
Yeah. But right. I'm not even gonna get like a new appliance if I don't talk to a human about what they think about it. So why would it be different with coaching? And coaching is so intimate and it's so personal that I need to talk to that human, make sure I like them, that I feel like they like me because I'm needy like that my personality and their personality worked out, like all of the things. Yeah.
Okay. Well said.
Good deal. We probably have time for one more. Who else has something?
Maria reminded me of something. I think it was Maria when you said that you're in your specialty is strength finders. You coaching using strength finders.
Yes.
When I talk about things like that, I know what it is. I've gone, I've done the testing. There are things like that I may or may not want to use with my coachees. Two-part question. A, how do I find what's out there? But more importantly, what bucket does that go in? I asked how to organize my work days and my work weeks, and we came up with these buckets of client outreach, business support, of course, the actual coaching, or for me, coaching and consulting. And then there's other work, or the consulting, which is other work. Where does that kind of like professional development or research, or, there are things that I'd like to read. So that, for instance, I like to use the experiential learning model. I know what that is. I've taught it for 25 years. There's a way that I can fit it into coaching without ever mentioning it. But every once in a while, I might have to read up on it or see what's new in experiential learning. So strength finders, what's the other one? The Belsen, I believe it is. There are all kinds of things. What bucket does that fit under? When do you do that? And how do I find what's out there? Or is that like social media? You don't really need to, because I really just talk to people.
I think you're probably doing fine just talking to people. For me, StrengthsFinder was something 7, 8, almost 10 years ago that I learned about. I was certified in it, and now I've used it as a part of my coaching. So some people make their whole coaching just that. I've always done it as a part of my work with some people if they're interested in it. I don't really force everybody to have that done, but some people are really interested in it, and for some, there's no interest at all. So I wouldn't even bother with it.
You can think of those things as tools to pull out of your tool bag as needed. If there's something that comes to you and maybe you want to have some kind of a personality assessment on hand, pick your favorite one that feels easy for you to learn. You do not need to go out and get certified in it. You can if you want to. They will charge you for it and you can do anything. But there are so many out there that are free and available to you that you can get that will help you get basic information as well. So it's really up to you. It's just, but think of it more as a tool in the tool bag, but not the coaching itself. It's different.
I was going to add, I know of coaches who spend a lot of time getting certification after certification and reading books after books, and it keeps them on the sideline from actually coaching and creating clients. So it can be a slippery slope. The philosophy or the strategy that worked for me, the investment in personal growth at the beginning, the best possible investment was hiring a coach, specifically hiring Gretchen. That was the investment in myself and the growth that made the most personalized impact in helping me build the business. And then as I was getting clients and figuring out who I like to work with, there were themes that I was like, ooh, I'm getting a lot of dysfunctional teams. So I read 5 Dysfunctions of a Team in the Collaborative Way per Gretchen's suggestion as an example, but it's like based on real people who I want to serve, then, ooh, okay, let me go learn about this tool that can help me. Negotiations is another one that I've deepened my learning on because it was relevant to people who I was serving. So you might want to think of like what learning tool or investment would serve you best at whatever phase you're in, and how custom is it, and what is the topic, versus sort of randomly doing something now that you don't quite know if your audience needs it, wants it, or not.
Thank you. That makes sense, because you're right. It's keeping me on the sidelines, and I haven't even done a lot of those things. Yeah, I wasn't going to get certified in most of them, but I have all this, like, I have these lists of like research and reading and things like that I'm going to do. And then when do I do that and get client? And when do I get clients? And that's been really holding me back. So
get clients first. Just go for it with the client.
That's what I was going to say. If there's one thing I've learned from Gretchen, don't worry about any of that stuff. Just get clients.
Because getting the clients is going to make you feel like a coach. When you have someone who's paying you, you show up different and more professionally, and then you can add whatever you need and supplement it, but get some clients. Okay, everybody, this was fun. I love it when it's just kind of open forum. Where are you at in your business and those sorts of things. If you need anything between now and September, you can email me. It's no problem. You also can be in the Coaching for Coaches group. I don't know if all of you are in it. Christy, maybe drop the link just in case there's anyone who wants to join that isn't already in it. You can follow along with some of the things that are going on there. You can watch the YouTube videos. The newsletter will still go out monthly, so you'll get that. And just if you have questions or there's something that comes up for you, feel like you can reach out. I'm happy to help, happy to answer. And happy summer, everybody. Go build those businesses. Really good to see everyone tonight. Take care.
Thanks, Gretchen. Good to see you. Have a good vacation.
Thank you.
Good night, everyone. Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Take care.